Hi everyone, so this is the B2C2P2F past paper 3 run through, and remember you've always got these equations in front of your paper, make sure you use them if needed, don't ignore them. The first section is biology, so it says foxes are common predators in Britain. Why do predators like foxes have eyes in the front of their heads? So this is, you can either say for binocular vision or you can say to judge distance. So either one of those will get you that mark. It says Tasmania is an island off the coast of Australia. Until recent, there were no foxes in Tasmania. A rare animal called the quoll lives in Tasmania. There are now foxes in Tasmania. Scientists worried that the foxes might cause the extinction of the quolls. The foxes might hunt and eat the quolls. Suggests one other way that they might cause the extinction of the quolls. So either of these, you could say that they could pass on a disease. You could say they might compete with them. You could say that they might eat their food or fight with them or take over their habitat. But you can't say to hunt or kill them because that's already been said in the question. So make sure you read the questions carefully because sometimes answers that could be used are in the question and then you can't use those in the question yourself. Scientists want to set up a conservation program to save the quolls. They want to remove foxes from Tasmania. Suggest one of the steps that they can try to and save the quolls. So any one of these, you could say protect the habitats. You could say captive breeding. You could say legal protection. You could say education programs. You could say putting them in zoos or nature reserves. You could say breeding programs. You could say provide food. So any of those, we'll get that 1 mark. The next question, plants contain carbon. Explain why it's important this carbon is released from plants after they die. 2 marks here. So you can say any two of these. You could say that the carbon is being recycled, or it makes the carbon available again for living organisms. You could say to stop the supply of carbon running out. You could say so the carbon is released as carbon dioxide, or you could say for photosynthesis. So any of those, we get those 2 marks. Then write down one type of organism that would cause dead plants to decompose. So bacteria or fungi is that mark there. In wet areas such as marshes, dead plants are only partly decomposed when they die. Over tens of thousands of years, this makes a substance called peat. Peat may be collected, dried and burned instead of fossil fuels. Explain why the burning of fossil fuels and peat is not sustainable. And there's 2 marks here. So first mark saying it will run out. And the second mark saying that because it takes a long time to form as well. So the fact it will run out because it will take a long time to form, those are your 2 marks. You could say that it's burned faster than it's made. That will also get you the 2 marks. Okay, the diagram below shows part of a food web from a woodland. Explain the term trophic level. Use an example from the food web in your answer. So a trophic level is a feeding level. That will get you the 1st mark. So a feeding level. And the 2nd mark is use an example. So you could say so beech trees and grass are producers, you could say, or mice and deer are primary consumers, or ticks are secondary consumers. So just choosing one of these and using the terminology, using the jargon, the key word that's related to it, would get the 2nd mark. Some scientists think that badgers might pass the disease TB to cattle. There are plans to kill many badgers. This might have an effect on the population of mice in the woodland. Give reasons why. So you can say that less mice will be eaten by the badgers because the mice is prey for the badgers. So less mice will be eaten by the badgers. And that would make the mice population increase, but you have to put that. You could just say less mice will be eaten. And you could also say there's less competition for food, or there's more food for the mice, or there's more beech trees for the mice. Because the badgers eat the beech trees as well. So there's less badgers eating the beech trees, so there's more food for the mice as well. Ticks live on the hair of animals such as deer and feed on their blood. This is a drawing of a tick. There it is. The tick is adapted to living on deer hair. Describe one adaptation shown in the diagram and explain how it helps the tick to survive in the habitat. So you can say that it has hooks on its legs. You can see it's got hooks, and it helps it to hold on to the hairs. Or you can say that it has lots of legs to hold on. That would also get you a mark. Instead of hooks, you could say claws or spikes or grips. Okay, so you don't have to use the word hooks for those. So first mark saying that they have hooks or claws or spikes or grips on their legs, or that you could say they have lots of legs, and the 2nd mark is saying that they hold on with those. So next question. A lot of reading here. So ticks can also feed on the blood of humans if they land on human skin. People like to walk in forest areas where deer live. If people are bitten by ticks, they can get a disease called Lyme disease. The number of people getting Lyme disease seems to be increasing. Some people think this is because global warming is making the ticks more active. One graph shows the number of cases of Lyme disease from 1986 to 2002. The other graph shows the average summer temperatures during those years. So there's your two graphs. How strong is the evidence in the graphs for a link between global warming and the number of people getting Lyme disease? Explain your answer. So it's the idea that you could have, as long as you explain your idea, you can have any of the ideas. So you could say that there's no link, and that wouldn't get you a mark. You've got to explain why. So you can say the troughs and peaks don't coincide. You can say here, you can see it goes down for 2000, but it's up for 2000 here. And then using some numbers to back that up. So you can say that Lyme disease peaks in 2000, but the highest temperature is in 1995. So that'll get you the marks. Or you could say that there is a link. So you could say that they're both rising, and you can say that they both have the lowest values in 1986. So overall they're both rising, and they're both the lowest values in 1986. Or you could say there is a weak link. And the explanation there is you could say that there's both graphs go up, but for 1 mark, but they don't peak at the same time for the 2nd mark. Suggest another explanation for a link between the weather data and the number of people getting Lyme disease. So you could say that because it's warmer, more people will go out for walks, or you could say they'll wear less clothes, or you could say the ticks will breed more. So any one of those three will get you that 1 mark. So next question, crickets are small arthropods that look like grasshoppers. Put a ring around the class that crickets belong to. So crickets are an insect. One type of cricket lives on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. The crickets make a noise or sing by rubbing their wings together. This attracts a mate. Unfortunately, the noise also attracts a type of fly. The fly lays eggs on the cricket, and the eggs hatch and maggots burrow into the cricket and feed on it, eventually killing it. What word is used to describe the maggots in this feeding relationship? Choose your answer from the list. So the maggot is a parasite. This next question is a 6-mark question, so please can you mark this yourself, and then ask your teacher just to check it if you're unsure whether you've marked it correctly. And then we're on to the chemistry section. So it says, look at the diagram, it shows the structure of the Earth, and you need to complete the diagram. So the centre is the core, and then the bit on the outside of the core is the mantle, and the very outside is your crust. The surface of the Earth is made up of tectonic plates. The tectonic plates move very slowly. Write down what can happen when tectonic plates move. So 2 things that could happen are volcanoes for 1 mark and earthquakes for another mark. If you said tsunamis, that would also get you a mark as well. Lava and magma are both molten rock. What is the difference between lava and magma? So one of them is on the outside of the Earth, and one of them is on the inside of the Earth. And you've just got to remember which way around it is. So magma is molten rock on the inside of the Earth, so beneath the Earth's surface or inside the volcano. And then lava is outside the volcano. So 1 mark for each of those. A bottle contains a solution. The label has fallen off the bottle, so Sophia wants to find out the pH of the solution in the bottle. Describe how she can do this. So first thing is to add universal indicator for the 1st mark, and the 2nd mark is to match the colour to the test card, or match up the colours to a chart. So, but you've got to say universal indicator, so universal indicator. An acid reacts with a base to make a salt and water. Look at the table, it shows some acids, bases, and the salts made from them. So it says complete the table. So if you're reacting nitric acid with something, you make a nitrate, and you're going to make sodium nitrate in this case. So you take the first word of the base, and then you add the second word based on the acid, so sodium nitrate. Chlorides are made using hydrochloric acid. So you've got hydrochloric acid there, and then magnesium is going to be the first word of your hydroxide. Remember to work out the first word of your base or alkali. To work out the name of your alkali or base, you take the first word of the salt and then add hydroxide onto the end. Works every time. Look at the equation of the neutralization reaction. Write down the formula of one product of this reaction. So remember, products are always on the right-hand side. They're always on what are made. So either CuCl2 or you could have written H2O. Many fertilizers are made by neutralization. Write about one benefit and one problem caused by fertilizers. So you have to have one of each, so any one of these for benefits, you could say it increases the crop yield, you can say that crops grow faster, you could say increase food supply, you could say bigger crops, and then the problem, you could say it runs off into rivers and lakes, you could say it causes an algae bloom, or you could say it causes the death of things in the water, you could say blue baby syndrome, or you could use the term eutrophication, which is spelled like this, which is the name of what happens when fertilizers get into water. This next question is a 6-mark question in the chemistry section, so please mark this yourself using the mark scheme found online on the Google site, and then ask your teachers to check whether you've marked it correctly. Ethanol is made by reacting ethene with steam. What is meant by that symbol in this equation? So that's the idea that it means it's a reversible reaction. So it means the reaction is reversible, or you could say that it means the reaction goes both ways. It says, look at the flowchart, look at the table. It gives some information about the percentage yield of ethanol at different temperatures and pressures. Which conditions give the highest percentage yield? So you're just looking for the highest number here, so you can see that 50 is the highest number. So what's the temperature? It's 200 degrees. And then what's the atmospheres? It's 160. So you need both of those for that mark. And suggest why a pressure of 70 atmospheres is used rather than the pressure you answered in part 1. So we use a lower pressure rather than 160, which gives you the highest yield. And this is the idea that, so there's 2 marks here. You could say that there's a higher energy cost, you could say there's a higher plant cost, or you could say that there's a greater safety risk. One cost in making ethanol is the cost of heating the equipment to 300 degrees and generating a pressure of 70 atmospheres. Write about the other costs involved. So again, 2 marks. Any 2 of these, you could say the cost of the ethene, you could say labour costs or workers, you could say equipment costs, you could say the cost of the catalyst, you could say research costs, you could say cost of testing, you could say rent or taxes, you could say pollution controls, you could say storage. So any 2 of those will get you those 2 marks. Now onto the physics section. So first question in the physics section, Alec is looking at his electricity bills. Alec has a budget of £3 per day to spend on electricity. When he calculates his daily electricity bill, it is at £1.72. In the winter, Alec's house gets cold and he needs to turn on an extra heater. The electric heater is 3 kilowatts and Alec uses it for 4 hours. Electricity costs him 15p for each unit. Will using the heater put Alec's daily bill above his budget of £3. So you've got to work out how much this is costing him. So the first thing to do is work out the number of kilowatt hours he's using. So kilowatt hours equals 3 times 4, which equals 12. And then that's how many units he's using. So cost will equal the cost per unit, 15, times number of units, which is 12. So that equals £1.80. So the cost of using a heater is 180 pence. And so, does it put him over? Well, yes, his total cost is going to be £1.72 plus £1.80, which equals £3.52, which is over his £3 budget. So, if you worked out that total cost, that gets you all 3 marks. But the breakdown is if you worked out 180 pence, that just gets you 2 marks. And if you just put 4 times 3 times 15, that gets you 1 mark. Alec needs a new lawnmower. He looks at some information in the shop. Look at the table, there it is. Alec likes the Hover Gold mower, but it thinks it will be too costly to run. The lawnmower uses a current of 1.2 and 230 volt supply. Calculate the power. So remember, power equals voltage times current. That equals 1.2 times 230, so that equals 276. That gets you 2 marks. What can you say about the cost of using the Hovergold mower compared to using the other mowers? So it's going to be the cheapest to run because that's the lowest power. Okay, so to get those 3 marks, that is 2 marks there, and then get the last mark, just got to say it's cheapest to run. And that's because it's got the lowest power rating. Okay, so next question is a 6-mark question in the physics section, so please mark this yourself using the mark scheme you can find online, and then ask your teacher to check it if you're unsure. Nuclear radiation is used in industry. It's important that workers are kept safe when they are near radioactive sources. Look at the graph showing the activity at different distances from a radioactive material. The workers are not allowed to be exposed to more than 10 counts per minute. Supervisor asked them to work 80 centimetres from this radioactive material. Are the workers safe at this distance? So the first thing you've got to do is kind of draw in a line of best fit. So that's going to look a little bit like this. And then at 80 centimetres, if you read off the graph, you can see it's around 25 based on this graph. So you can say no, and that's because the count is 25, and so that's above 10, and that'll get you both marks. So there's no mark for the no. No mark for the no. The 2 marks is for that. If you just put it above 10, that only gets you 1 mark. You had to read something off the graph to get both marks. Radioactive waste can be harmful. Low-level waste from hospitals and high-level waste from nuclear power stations have to be disposed of differently. Complete the sentences. Low-level waste is usually disposed of by, so that is put in landfill sites. And then high-level waste, so there's a number of different things you can put, is encasing in glass, or stored in steel or iron or concrete or lead, or sealed in containers, or it's stored deep underground, you could say. So any of those will get you that mark there. So 1 mark for the top one for putting in landfill, or rubbish tips, or waste sites, or waste dumps. And the second mark is for all those things you could have said, so encasing it in glass, or putting it deep underground, or storing in a sealed container. Or we could say transform it into a non-toxic form of waste. So yeah, any of those. Next question. There are many asteroids in our solar system. Asteroids have affected the Earth in the past. They continue to be a risk to our planet. Describe how asteroids have affected the Earth and explain what evidence scientists have to support this. So 3 marks. So you can either say 2 things that how it's affected the Earth and 1 bit of evidence, or 1 way it's affected the Earth and 2 bits of evidence. But you've got to cover both bits to get all 3 marks. So you could say any two of these. So craters, climate change, or species extinction, or explosions, tsunamis. Could say a fall in temperature. So any 2 of those, and then 1 of these you could say for evidence that there's unusual elements found in the rocks. You could say there's a sudden change in the fossil numbers between layers of rocks. Scientists track the paths of asteroids and publish their data. Other scientists collect and review data on asteroids. Why is it important to collect more data on asteroids? So this is just to increase the confidence or increase the accuracy of predictions. Or you could say to track their movement better. Or you could say to find out if we are more likely to be hit by an asteroid. So any of those get their mark. And then why do other scientists review the data that these scientists produced? And that's just to check their findings or to verify the conclusions, or just to check their ideas or check they are right. Any of those get that mark. Energy can be collected from the sun in many ways. Photocells transfer the energy in sunlight into electricity. Megan does let's experiment with a panel of photocells in the lab. Look at the diagram. Megan shines the light on the photocell panel and records the current produced. She changes the angle of the light beam and measures the current again. Look at her results. There they are. Megan has lost her result for 6 degrees. Estimate the current for the angle. So anything between 0.1 and 0.12, so any number between those two numbers will get you that mark. And describe how the current changes with increasing angle of light beam. So just that there's more current with a larger angle. So they've already told you about having increasing angle, so all you had to put there was more current. Megan thinks she can get an output of 1.1 milliamps at 90 degrees using 5 solar panels connected together. Suggests why a prediction is sensible. So the idea that at 90 degrees you get a 0.22 milliamp output, and then times that by 5, that's going to give you 1.10. So that's the same. So just that calculation will get you that mark there. And then the sun in the UK is never at an angle of 90 degrees to the Earth's surface. The sun appears to move across the sky during the day, suggests how the output of a single solar panel could be increased. So this is the idea that you could get it to track the position of the sun, or angle the photocell to face the sun. But any of these would also get the mark, so you could just say for it to follow the sun, or for it to always face the sun. You could say tilt towards the sun, or move towards the light. Any of those ideas will get you that mark. And could you now add up your marks and write your total onto your poster, please? And try the next paper. Thanks.